evolution of RLS. And even though it's a lot of the same faces, it's a lot of people wanting to do different things. Priorities are completely different this season, and that's why different people are playing new roles. And those are just some fun challenges to get around. Obviously, super happy with 2 wins. I was, of course, really happy taking down Wash, who were maybe a little overhyped at this point, it might be fair to say. But Cloud9 really took it to us, and we have a lot to work on, and we learned a lot from that series, so I'm excited for where we can go.
So realistically, I see our team Cloud9 finishing in the upper bracket of the tournament. I definitely see us getting to playoffs. Obviously, we're going to have a bit of a learning curve being a new team this season, but I feel like once we get over that learning hump, we'll definitely be a force to be reckoned with this season.
I think we had a good understanding of macro, but I think we had micro mistakes that we could have avoided that happened because of our impulsiveness and because we, still relatively fresh, as a team. We didn't know our limits yet. We do now, and hopefully next time we play against INT, it's for first or second place.
Art of War, at least top 2. There were a lot of issues that we're going to definitely be capitalizing on from other teams that I don't think even Deacon's feeding can carry them.
Watching the games from this week or last week, I think the teams are trying to figure out what their strengths and weaknesses are. INT, obviously we've been playing for years, and we know what we can do and what we're capable of. I'm still looking forward to playing against Team AWE because of Sword Blue, and I'm excited to see if they give us a challenge or not.
For RLS, I've looked at their jungler, and I know him personally, and I just think that he's probably only the 6th best jungler in this league, and again, we'll have to beat them in team cohesion in order to compete with them.
Initially, I thought we'd finish first pretty handily. Now, I think at the end of the regular season, if this week goes well and we get stuff together, it could still be first. I'm looking second to third. Anything below 4th would be... If we're trending below 4th, we're going to have to make roster changes.
At first, I wanted to throw up just because, one, it's the first game of the season. You're putting all this practice show a really good impression, but then again, it's also INT, the juggernauts of the Heroic League. So it's just a lot of nervousness. But once the game just starts, for some reason, all that nervousness just kind of went away, and it was actually really fun at first. We didn't win, obviously, but I'm very thankful that they were actually our first match because they have taught us a lot about our team, and I can't wait to go against them again and show them how much we improved.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to FOF Heroic League Week 2. And we have got a banger on our hands. AWE squaring off against In the Trees. I'm RLS's war leader, and joined is my top laner.
Well, hello there. I am back once again, this time not being, heralded by a Josh, but a Richard. But on the side of INT, they once again have Fish Magish in that top lane. And I will say it straight up, Fish Magish, I don't believe is the starting top laner of In the Trees, but in my opinion is possibly the strongest top laner in the league.
Oh! We get the Swain! Swain has been banned out against everyone that's been playing Swain in FOF, mainly Pure Llama, so I'm really excited to see what I assume Guilty at this point, how pilots this pick. The Talia that has been locked in for In the Trees can be flexed between the jungle and top lane roles. That being said, I very much expect it to land in Broccoli's hands. Because they played it, we're going to see Letters Callista locked in again. So good with the Renata Glass. Vayne is the counter.
Interesting choices here. So, I will also note, right, I'm pretty sure that Sword Blue will want us to note the fact that there was a constant Yumi / Nami hover there, which is a nod to Yubi. If you've been in the league for a long time, Yubi loves himself some Nami. And also loves themselves some Yumi, sorry, and Ariri, not the biggest Nami fan, but I don't know about the Kalista pick. You know, they're gonna take the Volibear for it in the trees. Like, this is looking like such a good rounded team composition for in the trees. Meanwhile, on the side of Art of War Esports, right? This composition makes a ton of sense to me, with the exception of the Kalista, because Zillion slows down the Kalista. Talia's Talia's E makes it so hard for Kalista to weave around these fights. I just don't know how much you're really going to be able to get out of this pick. And this team composition just hinges on Letters being able to output damage.
All right, that was an absolute whirlwind of a draft. So let's break down what just saw drafted. Art of War have a really strong front line. The Ornn and the Trundle are going to be able to soak so much damage, give Swain the time to output more of the DPS style than maybe the Drain Tank style, depending on how Guilty chooses to build. Renata and Kalista, such a powerful bot lane combo, one that should definitely have lane dominance over Vayne and Zillion. But like you mentioned, Zillion with the point-and-click slow, very effective into the Kalista. And so I think we're getting an absolute banger of a game. And my eyes are on how the bot laners play out this matchup. Because on one hand, I really expect Kalista Renata to dominate lane, especially early game. However, Zillion is such a wild card that could throw a wrench in AWE's plans.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things about Zillion that we will also note here, Zillion Volibear is so incredibly hard to get away from. Zillion Darius, also incredibly hard to get away from. This champion is so good at enabling these bruisers, at getting past that front line into the back line. You know, Kalista, she can dodge all she wants, but when you have the Taliyah E underneath her, she can't use her passive. She literally cannot kite. So getting the front line tanky enough to keep these backline divers away from her is so incredibly crucial. But into Vayne, how tanky can you really be?
We're going to have to see that as we get into game here. I personally favor... Man, it's so tough. I think I favor in the trees because I've seen Kenny Hammer Spike's Vayne, and while it is inconsistent, I know they're practiced on the champion, and I have a lot of trust in Volibear. If you know anything about me, I am a huge proponent of Volibear in FOF Heroic. I think that champion automates some of the hardest parts of jungling within this sort of gold plat league, and therefore I'm absolutely stoked to see it show up multiple times today. However, Total Trash on the Trundle, really effective answer, and honestly, I'm just hyped that these junglers are playing my champion.
Yeah, I mean, I will also note, I love the fact that you called yourself a proponent of Volibear jungle and not a fan of Volibear jungle. You know, very, very big difference there. But, you know, right now, Deakus and Total Trash is gonna go ahead and, you know, sit by blue buff together. You know, not too much of a surprise to anyone. Just gonna path top to bot. You're gonna weak side this Ornn. You're gonna try to get as many kills onto that Kalista as possible. But I just don't know. You know, Volibear works so well with this composition on the side of INT here, right? You know, Bow Explode can not only set up in bot lane incredibly well with the Zillion, also Volibear Taliyah is one hell of a lane to play into.
Yeah, it's not quite Pantheon Taliyah, but I mean, it's a close second, and Volibear being so good with that stun, I really do expect and hope that Volibear is sprinting into the mid lane at level 3 and flashing on top of Guilty and locking down that Swain. That combined with Taliyah's abilities, I think would be absolutely nasty, and that's how I would approach this game if I were INT. That being said, we are going to see some trading in the bot lane. So far, Letter's doing a pretty decent job at keeping Kenny Hammerspike off of those minions. Taking a little poke back in return, though. We're going to have to see as they hit level 2 if they can find anything. Hey, Oriri flashes forward, doesn't find the handshake. He slops, throwing a return bomb, but missed opportunity from Oriri, pulled the trigger either just a little too late or underestimated the range just a little too much, and now a crucial summoner spell for snowballing that early game bot lane is down. INT are going to be happy about that.
Yeah, and like we were saying earlier, right? This Callista has to get fed, has to be able to do damage, but at the same time, the front line has to be so tanky to keep that back line off of her. Like, this team composition hinges on peeling for the Callista while the front line just continually drain tanks, just continually stays alive forever. But INT's team composition is so well equipped to deal with that. Deek is in a lot of trouble, just taking so much damage in this top lane trade here.
Yeah, and we're seeing the Darius get that wave in, doing a good job at preventing Orin from getting to those minions. I expect FFS6 to push in the lane and get a recall here, but Bow explodes in the top side. It wouldn't be crazy to look for a dive. I think I missed their window just a little bit. Fighting in the bot lane, Kenny Hammer Spike finding a nice trade onto a Riri. Gonna have to burn those recovery potions, and so far things are looking good for INT across the board. They're winning all their lanes. Jungle's out farming. It's a good spot to be. But here we go. Total Trash showing up in the bot lane and is going to just start hitting He Who Slops with the speed boost. Gonna get him right out of there, no problem. Fish McGish, heavy trade on the top side. Biggest Dinkus goes in instead of out.
Oh my god.
That's the flash. Fish McGish getting out so much damage on the Biggest Dinkus, and with that summoner spell blow, imagine this top lane is going to get more and more lopsided as we go.
I mean, right now you have to wonder on the side of, INT, right? Who is going to be going down first, right? Top lane doesn't have flash. Bot lane also doesn't have flash. So, Bow Explode, those lights kind of just going off in his head as he knows, like, hey, I have so many opportunities here. Where am I going? Might even end up going for Guilty Soul. There's no cleanse on that Swain. So that gank is also still going to be incredibly potent.
Yeah, I'm not even sure it would matter if they had the cleanse. A bit of a trade going up in the top lane is definitely going to favor FFS6 McGish as he looks to crash in this wave and get a reset off. Big CS lead up in the top side. Meanwhile, back in the bot side, Letters off of the gank has appeared to find quite a bit of advantage back, although Total Trash might be in for a surprise. Speed boosted on the Volibear. Smite comes through, flash over the wall by Bow Explode, stuns Total Trash, who's going to drop. Bailout is not going to save him, and Letters now going in.
Oh my god.
Right on top of him, Bow Explode will fall. A Riri, the next one to get low. Kenny Hammer Spike flashes forward, going to take out a Riri now. Guilty, trying to go stun him. Flash expended. Kenny Hammer Spike taking a lot of damage, but the Talia W is in, and no, Guilty is going to get out on the Swain over. Massive play. Let's get a replay.
Yeah, and you have to look at this real closely, right? Total Trash gets caught on the Gromp there, and then immediately goes down. Kenny just immediately, with the Condemn onto Letters, able to do so much damage, flashes over the wall instead of opting to take the Blast Cone here, which actually is what allows Guilty to get out in the end. But they still managed to pick up 2 kills on the Vayne, who's supposed to be getting completely destroyed in this lane early.
Yeah, and the Vayne, who was down in CS in this early game, doesn't matter when she's got 2 kills on her side. And we're looking at a pretty significant gold lead for the side of INT at this point, now up about 1,500, 1.7,000. And as these lanes continue to play out, I expect to see Vayne able to pick up more of the CS as she gets this recall in right now. And I'm curious to see what items get picked up. Right now we see the Callista is on Berserker's Greaves and a longsword. Vayne's going to get that recall in. I'm excited to see what she buys.
I'm thinking Zerker's Dagger Longsword. Oh, Zerker's Vamp Scepter. So instead, Vayne is going to completely forgo the... might actually end up completely forgoing the Kraken Slayer, but instead going for Shield Bow, which, does mess with her damage a bit, but being able to stay alive long enough to output damage is honestly all you could really ask for, right? Into these super tanks, as long as you can stay alive, they're eventually going to die. Meanwhile, Letters, no matter what it is that you do build, it's going to be so hard to play into this team in the late game. Meanwhile, FFS6 McGish with a huge wave pushing in that top lane, can threaten the dive. Biggest Deacon just knows that Volibear's not in the area, though, and just going to be sitting just fine.
The way that FFS6 has been managing these waves has been an absolute masterclass on lane bullying. The way that these waves always dump into the tower huge, and immediately into the jungle to punish Total Trash. We're going to see a flash forward, trying to get in. We're going to see the hook onto Total Trash. Ordal's in to try and save him, but it's too late. Total Trash is going to fall, and now the Weaver's Wall is out. Broccoli is in there, but Biggest Dinkus little too far away to get engaged on, and we're seeing the absolute power of a well-played lane bully. Skirmishing in the bot lane, a Riri is a target of a lot of those abilities, but not too much going on.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Kenny, despite having that early 2 kills, still going to be falling a little bit behind in this laning phase just because, you know, that's what Kalissa's strength really is, right? She's going to be able to get a lot of damage off. She's going to continue to lane bully, but they're not going to be able to get the same kind of value out of this lane bullying that someone like Fish McGish was able to, right? You know, not only does he just waltz in, kill Total Trash, also takes the blue buff, which means that it's so difficult for Dekus to actually exist in this lane. And their only respite, they're going to be able to pick up that first dragon, but Fish McGish now with a freeze on Dekus, you know, going
And check
to
on
be
Bow
so
Explode.
difficult.
Bow Explode is going to find a stun on Guilty, who pops that ultimate to Bow Explode, and Broccoli trying to kite out,
No
but
mana.
he swaps Kenny in the back line now. Kenny Hammer Spikes, free hit.
Oh my God.
Bow Explode back in, does so much damage, will drop, but 3 kills going over to the side of INT. 2 of them on Kenny Hammer Spike, who's absolutely monstrous this game.
Yeah, I mean, Kenny has been struggling so much in the laning phase itself, but every single time these team fights come on in, Kenny's just hitting on this vein, and those silver bolts are doing so much true damage. I can't do the math myself right now, but, you know, honestly, it's easily well over 100% of life bars and true damage at this point.
Yeah, I think over 100% definitely does check out there. I am a famous mathematician, so I can I can verify
Yeah, you do.
on that.
You technically do math for a living, no?
Computer science is like kind of math. I mean, I only have to count to 1, but that's a big enough number, right?
Yeah, it's just a different counting system. But either way, as far as INT's counting system goes, number big, gold number big, like kill number big, gold number big, tower number small, but it's all good. We're just chilling as far as this game's going because Bow Explode is the only one who's dropped any deaths so far. And that's 2 deaths on Volibear, which honestly, relatively inconsequential. Both of those kills ended up going to the bot lane of AWE, and one of them on Letters, pretty big. The other one on Ariri, not going to be that much of a game changer.
I think it's really interesting to see Bow Explode's itemization this game, and it really just shows you how much different of a player Bow Explode is compared to the rest of the league. The Volibear has opted, ultimately, to go into that Turbo Chem Tank, which I think means 2 things. One, that's about when INT stopped playing the game, so maybe Bow Explode doesn't know better and thinks that item is meta on Volibear. What I think it actually is that Bow Explode understands his role in this composition. And with the big bruiser Darius topside, doesn't need to itemize into Divine Sunder. The team already has plenty of damage, and it's about being that initial engage that the team lacks. Now, AWE have moved on to this Rift Herald, sending 4 people there. It's going to be pretty nice for Vayne and Zillion down in bot lane, but I do like the coordination to try and pick up an objective, the local goal. Here's Weaver's Wall in the bot lane. Broccoli's looking, the Condemn goes through, the Cleanse finds nothing. Kenny Hammer Spike, unstoppable.
Yeah, and you know, that's like what we were saying earlier, right? Where the moment Talia puts down her E, it's so difficult for Kalista to do anything. She puts down that E, Kenny condemns her through it, stuns her, does a ton of damage, and then Talia shoves her in through more of it, and it still does more damage. This is such a deadly combo, and it's so hard to play Kalista into this.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if they had to commit for, oh, big trade on the top side. Fishmish going in, doesn't like what he sees, gonna back out of there. Doing such a good job, CS on the top side. Almost double up on that Darius, showing an effective counterpick into the Ornn we've seen so much. Bow Explode exploring bottom side, trying to see what he can find. It's not going to be too much with the control ward in Tribush.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Kenny, in position for a big
They're gonna
fight.
look for the dive. Here's the Stormcaller. Stun goes out onto Letters, and the
Hostile takeover?
the hostile takeover goes crazy. Doesn't matter though. Letters doesn't do any damage. Guilty arrives in the fight. He's gonna look to clean up. Is going quite big, but it's 1 versus 3. Gonna pop that Zillion ult. Try and get to refuge. That is the tower, and it will not be enough. Massive under the tower from the side of INT as they extend their lead.
Yeah, and Kenny Hammerspike gets pulled in right at the very beginning, does not amount to much. A Riri with a hostile takeover does manage to take down Brock Lee here, but Letters and Total Trash go down so early in this fight that Guilty doesn't get a chance to do anything with that roam.
Yeah, and honestly, the top side of the map from INT has put Total Trash into the trash so hard this game. If you look at the poor Trundle's items right now, Ruby Crystal and Tiamat versus an 8-0 Vayne is not really where you want to be at in the first 12 minutes of the game. Gold lead already ballooning to 8,000 as I think INT might be looking to push the FOF game time record with the way they're speeding through this one. Vayne maybe already reaching that late game stage just 13 minutes in.
Yeah, I mean, that record was something a little bit under 18 minutes if I remember correctly. Maybe it might have been a little bit over, but, INT was on the receiving side of that one, actually, in one of the earlier seasons. Had a little bit of an interesting team composition against a little bit of an interesting team. But right now, Brock Lee now could be in a lot of trouble. Ariri just looking to try to make something happen here, but while the Talia is only 1-5, she has such great fancy feet. Gonna be able to survive?
They land the Swain E, the Ignite goes down. Do they have any more follow-up? One more auto from Ariri will seal it. And a little silver lining now for AWE, who do manage to do a good macro play, find a pick in the mid lane, because Deacon's might be in trouble, though. Fish opts to use the Ghost. The Exhaust from the Spellbook is already down. The Bleed stacks are stacking up. The Art is so tanky, though. Doesn't even have an item done, because Deacon absolutely trolling Fish Magish right now through the bushes. But the Decimate is going to go through, put full bleed stacks on Biggest Deakus, and the final hook in from Darius going to deal that one up in the top side as both teams turn to Drake.
Yeah, I mean, that Apprehend just always held on to it to make sure that Deakus could not get out, still had the flash afterwards, and while Deakus had the Unleashed teleport available, there's no chance that AWE is going to be able to contest this dragon. And the objective bounties literally just come up, and all of a sudden, those objective bounties already going to be picked up on the side of INT, as AWE is not going to be able to be in a position to pick up anything right now.
Yeah, and if we start to... I'm kind of surprised at the items that are in for INT, considering just how far ahead they are. I would expect them to have more inventory, which makes me think they've got a lot in their money bags and their purses right now, ready to head on back to base and suit up. Vayne, including the Raptor camp, makes me think just a little bit away from finishing off that Rage Blade, which would be monstrously ahead of an Ornn that's still on Tabai, or a Trundle that's still on Tiamat, or a Swain that's still on Lost Chapter. Things are all INT right now.
Yeah, things are all looking good for INT. And, I was criticizing the shield bow pick a little bit earlier, and it's one of those things where, like, if you fall behind, you want to build damage. If you're in the middle of the game, kind of even of the game, you kind of usually want to build damage if you're Vayne.
But when you're this... Looking in bot side, Stormcaller's gonna knock out the tower. Letters doing everything they can to kite out. There's no slow, though, so Letters does get the kite, and a big shutdown on the bow explode puts the money right where AWE need it. Letters plays this so well.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have the Talia available, you don't have the Zillion slows, and Letters is just able to walk it all back. You could tell me that they didn't actually remove Callista's extra kiting while moving backwards, because Letters just able to dance just barely outside of Bow Explode's range the entire time.
Yeah, and there's a reason that AWE picked this Callista. Letters did look great on it the previous game, that AWE played into PTP, Callista looked very, very strong there, and Letters is definitely very proficient at this champion now. It's going to take a lot more than just proficiency to get AWE back in this game, but it is a start. Pick up the big shutdown on the Volibear, get it onto one of your 2 carries is right where you want it, and we can see now Callista is probably going to back and get a little more in her pockets, and maybe try and catch up to the Vayne, who's, I believe, building at wit's end now.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of great amount of gold onto Letters, but right now, the real amount of gold in this game, we have to look at the gold diffs, honestly, right? Kenny has so much. Ariri's in a lot of trouble here. That's like 3 autos.
That's all they
Ariri
need.
lost half of his health to 3 autos of a shield bow Vayne.
I thought you were the one telling me that 3 autos is 100%.
No. 100% of true damage in a fight, 100% of health bars being done in true damage in a fight is totally different from 3 autos doing 100% of someone's health bar.
Well, not for long, the way this game's going. Yeah, so now INT are just going to go over, pick up that second Herald. It's still on the map. Drop it down in the mid lane. It does not look like they're going to contest for the single game record, but we'll see how far this Rift Herald goes. You never know. That being said, INT putting on an absolute masterclass of early game with maybe champions you wouldn't expect to be good in the early game. Bow Explode, tank, getting on top of Letters just to flash out, but the flash getting Hammer Spike, dodges the hostile takeover, and is now dishing out so much damage. Total Trash doesn't do anything. The bailout will go in Total Trash, and actually, Bow Explode is going to have the...
Oh my god!
The Zillion ult popped, and Kenny Hammerspike just left alone to do Vayne things. Fish Gish shows up to the fight, and it's all over for AWE, and we might actually have to time it out after all.
Yeah, and right here you see the power of the Volibear, of the Zillion, just able to get directly on top of Letters. Kenny just firing off in the backline. Total Trash just taking so much damage from this Vayne, who's never going to get close to dying. And he who slops with a phenomenal stun, gonna be able to stun up everyone that was in a even close to a remote position to do any damage there. And the full cleanup as Fish McGish walks in. That could be an inhib before 20 minutes.
I think the death timers might be a little low, but they can think about the game at this point. There's another 20 seconds for Guilty, another 15 for the Orin. It's going to be a matter of how ballsy is INT feeling. I'm going to guess that they're going to walk away. Oh, you see the indecisiveness in their players, in their movement. Fish, Gish, and Brock Lee wanted to end it there. Vayne more than happy to back off.
Letters?
Letters is looking for Kenny Hammer. Looking for Kenny Hammer, spiking a greedy recall, is going to punish the recall, but not able to reach much farther. If the Fate's call was up, maybe Letters could have made something crazy happen there on the greed from Kenny Hammer Spike, but the goal difference being nearly 12,000 at this point, just 18 minutes into the game, his ability's going to be on cooldown, the summoner spells being on cooldown, it's so tough for AWE to find any openings.
Boy, here it is. So, the one bit of respite to having a very fed Vayne on the enemy team when you're Renata is Hostile Takeover does a lot of damage. But Kenny Hammerspike, has subscribed to that FOF press, has read up on it, and has noticed that Ariri was talking up Renata this whole time, saying how good of a champ she is. But hold on, no matter how good of a champ you are, Biggest Deke is not going to be able to get on out of here. He's really, really tanky, but should still eventually go down.
Yeah, I think you can keep going with your point. It's just the Orin dying again. That's nothing new for this game.
Nothing new. Yeah, so, Kenny has read up on that FOF press, has seen the Ariri interview as Ariri was talking about, oh yeah, Renata, most broken champ in the game, you got Hostile Takeover, the bailout continues to reset, just honestly does so much work here. So we've got the QSS tax on the Vayne. That Hostile Takeover now amounts to basically nothing.
It amounts to just one layer of CC that Vayne can remove when really the rest of your team has very few other forms of CC. that Vayne is going to be using that QSS on. You could use it on Swain E. You could use it on Renata Handshake. It would be a miracle to land 2 of those 3 CCs onto the Vayne. Now, maybe in combination with an Orin ultimate is possible, but Total Trash barely going to dodge out. The seismic shove does not matter. Stormcaller means that there's no tower there and is going to fall to the 4-man stack of INT.
Yeah, and right now, Kenny's outputting so much damage, but I want to give a shout out to one of the unsung heroes of this game. He who slops on this Zillion is doing so much work. The great Weaver's Wall.
Big Berserk coming out from Ariri does get a lot of damage off. Volibear, taken quite low, is going to revive, but Kenny Hammerspike is left untouched. And that means there's damage. Guilty going forward, finds a lot of damage. It's not quite enough. They do find Fish McGish. They do find He Who Slops. But ultimately, at the end of the day, Guilty will fall, AWE will fall, and Total Trash is left alone to defend the base.
Yeah, and Total Trash, unfortunately, not going to be able to do it against this Vayne. She's outputting so much damage, so much healing, and just like that, Kenny Hammerspike won alone versus the Nexus Towers. But the entire enemy team's coming up. You can't be sitting around doing the Gosu. You know, you don't really want to start Vayne spotting this late into a game. That's a 11, 0, and 8 on the Vayne. Hold on to that KDA. Hold on to that perfect record, and right now, just gonna back off, reset, not even gonna look to take that top inhib.
Explode having a little bit of fun there. I thought the game was over. Just gonna run in, get another kill, die for it. Vayne can finish the game, right? Well, I guess not, but I mean, this game is a slaughter right now. It's 14,000 in the favor of INT. It's 9-25. There's barely been the need to take Drakes this game, the way it's been going, and it's really a matter of time. Now, big shutdown does go over from Bow Explode. I think the bigger deal is that Total Trash gets a kill, and that resets his gold value, so that's more gold for INT to receive when they kill the Troll, who, you know, is finally at the 1.5 Trundle power spike that you were really hoping to see, I don't know, 10 minutes earlier. Something to that line.
One other thing I'll also note is that Kenny also has finished that Hearthbound Axe, which does so much work at allowing Vayne to kite back and forth. You know, with her ultimate, she's able to run forward at enemy champions very, very quickly. But running away, that's hard.
Seismic Shove goes out. Biggest Deke is going to fall once again. Kenny Hammerspike on a rampage. Wait, why is Kenny on a rampage? Kenny's 12-0. Anyway, Fish McGish is the one that's now getting collapsed on by 4 members of AWE, but it doesn't matter. Versus 4. Brutally has left the game as Fish McGish is going to clean up the entire AWE roster. They might have to find a new one early after this. Bow Explode looking absolutely nuts. Kenny Hammerspike looking absolutely nuts in this game. They're going to take everything. I think the Death Timers might be disjointed enough that they don't win here, but it would be a crime if they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, like, the thing is, right, at this point, it's just prolonging the inevitable, as Dragon's coming up once again, so, you know, if you really want to back off for it, it's a possibility, but Kenny now in a position to do so much damage. Total Trash looking for the kill, but not going to be able to get it, as Bow, with the Zillion ultimate, is going to survive to fight another day. They are going to reset for this Dragon. And AWE, I don't know what options you have that you can take here.
Yeah, I'm not even sure, like, suiciding for the Drake actually gets you anything. I think it actually gets your base blown up. So I don't even think going for the steal is a good idea. I think maybe the best play for Trundle is to go and just take the topside camps, but actually probably just hand feed them to Guilty. And I don't really know at this point. The Orin, level 13, maybe you can power out one of those ornaments, one of those masterwork items. It's 13, really tough.
You only get your own.
Yeah, you get your own. So if they power out one more level, then that's like 800 gold into the 16,000 dent that they need to put. Not counting the 2 Mountain Drakes and the Infernal. which of course are
I mean,
worth maybe
honestly,
about
at
1,000
this
each
point,
this
all
way.
you can do is go over to INT and
Oh
say,
my
hey,
God.
can we get a bit of debt forgiveness? But right now, Guilty is getting no forgiveness whatsoever. No respite at all as Letters is getting chased down by Bo Explode. Bo is giving a bit of payback for earlier. Bailout does nothing here. Ariri goes down. Deakus not gonna get condemned against the wall as Total Trash going in on Kenny. But there's no shot that this Vayne dies even remotely close to dying, actually. And the Nexus going fully down as INT once again showing us complete dominance in this league.
Absolute statement victory from INT going against one of the top teams. A lot of people had them in that top 4. AWE were looking very strong after week 1, but now we know why INT has been ranked in that top spot by nearly everybody. And it's because of the masterclass that they could put on like that. They've been playing together so long. They have these strategies prepared. They have these champions prepared. And I think AWE might have to go back to the drawing board on that draft. The Callista really counterintuitive into the champions that INT had already set up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be pretty difficult, but also incredibly difficult, right, is to decide for yourself who is the real MVP of that game, right? You know, we might see Kenny Hammerspike, big number, big KDA, big damage, but, you know, that was a team effort. He Who Slops did a lot of work there. Bo Explode, as always, going to be able to do a lot of work there. Fish Magish, just absolutely dominating that top lane. Broccoli, perfect wave management in order to set up beautiful roams. Everyone on INT played so well. That MVP voting is not easy in the slightest, but we'll have to see who gets on interview in just a bit.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. We are here after our second game after INT took a commanding victory over Art of War, now going 3-0. I'm joined here today with Kenny Hammerspike. Kenny, how are you feeling today after that win?
I'm feeling great. It's fantastic to be back.
Yeah, I mean, we've all missed you very much. It's great to have INT back and, just putting on an absolute clinic. And my first question for you is directly to you. During the draft, the casters actually talked about your Vayne, and they were saying that in the past, like, the Vayne was inconsistent, and then you came in and put on a 15-0 and 11. Have you what do you have to say to that comment? And like, have you just been preparing this, or like?
So I haven't played Vayne in 2 months. So this is just something I'm just fine at the champion. I can pick it up whenever. But basically, I just saw that they gave a zillion, and that's kind of all that needed to be done. The Vayne pick was more of just a comfort pick to safely neutralize the lane. It was very strong into their team comps.
Yeah, fair enough. And Letters is particularly a player that likes to play a lot of Callista, and it seemed like a lot of your draft had something to get an answer for that. Was that on purpose, or was that just kind of like the champ that you all happen to play just happened to be a really good answer?
So we didn't really care about the Callista pick because it was pretty I think it's champion's pretty easy to deal with as long as you don't give her a lead and just neutralize the game. You can just outscale her super hard, especially if you pick a lot of champions like Zillion, Talia, where it makes it impossible for her champion to play the game.
That is correct, yeah. And I've always been a fan of you, and especially He Who Slops on Zilly in particular, especially in Season 2. I was very hyped that it was the only champion that didn't die at all. And I believe, in Season 4, we didn't really see He Who Slops had a lot of stuff going on. If I remember right, it was Jeffus. So I was kind of curious, how does it feel to have He Who Slops back with you?
It feels great. I've been playing with him for many years now, and it's just a very fun experience playing with him. It's really a treat to watch him play Zillion.
I agree. And again, that was just a commanding victory. Just kind of looking at some of your other competition now being 3-0. The only other team that could end up being 3-0 and contending with you guys, technically in first place as far as where you're at right now, is RLS in the next match. And how do you feel looking at them as a team in comparison to you guys?
So I would say with RLS, they have a lot of, I wouldn't say they're not, at least in the games they've been playing, last week, they looked a bit inconsistent, but I wouldn't count them out. I would say I feel they're a team that can really just spontaneously pop off. So that's something we need to watch out for.
All right, I like it. And personally for you, there's been a lot of talk about who the best AD carry is. Who do you see as your rival, or anyone that's even close to you?
I would say, looking at the other ADCs in this league, the only ADC I've been really impressed with is Erebus. I think he looks like a fantastic player, but I think that I would still be the best ADC in the league.
There you go. I like to hear it. I like to watch how it develops. And looking at the next game, we're going to be looking at Team Wet versus really late side of RLS. Who do you think is going to take that game?
So I don't know how to feel about those two teams. I can definitely go either way. I would probably give it to RLS, but I think that Wet has looked pretty good compared to their expectations going into the season. So it's very nice to watch that.
Perfect. All right. And I think that's all the questions I had for you. Do you have any last minute thoughts before we step away?
Yeah, I don't know why you're giving Zillion to our support, but I hope you do in the future.
Perfect. You heard it there. Either be wary of the Zillion or prepare to get stomped. And with that, we're going to go ahead and be stepping away for just a few minutes here, and then we'll go ahead and load right up as we watch Team Relay Sign Up take on Team Wet. Don't go anywhere. go.